I was at a conference in Miami today for hotel investors. And there was a guy who went on stage who is from Manhattan. Actually, excuse me, he's from Boca and went to Ivy League, Manhattan, the whole nine yards. And so he's up there and is basically trying to convince the audience. If I didn't know any better based on the way he was talking, he was suggesting that even though the commercial real estate industry is taking a major hit in many ways, that everything's great. And you know how I know everything's great? Because the infrastructure bill is fantastic. And all I'm thinking is, even in a room like this, you're getting people looking at this guy like, are you out of your goddamn mind? I mean, the level of being in such a bubble, and was full-throatedly basically saying how great Joe Biden is, how great the economy is, how great all of these things are. You know what? For the very, very wealthy in this country, yeah, the economy's doing great. So when you look around and say, well, hey, it's going great for me, why isn't it going great for everybody else? But they don't think past that point. They're not asking questions. And even if they are, it's always the benevolent nonprofit attitude about how we solve these problems. He had the balls to bring up what you brought up at the beginning. There are people in this country, particularly as he mentioned in Seattle, Washington, where people are making over $70,000 a year and they're living in a car. So what's the solution? Well, he didn't talk about universal health care. He didn't talk about a living wage. He didn't even talk about something like a universal basic income, which could be a temporary solution, not a long-term solution. And he sure as hell was not talking about a federal jobs guarantee with full benefits. No, he's not talking about that. And none of the other people who are sitting around with a thumb square up their ass about what the real problem is here. They can identify it, but they're not going to actually address the real solution. So for anybody who doesn't understand modern monetary theory, that's something that people need to know and they need to understand, especially right more than ever. They need to understand it right now.
Yeah, I just interviewed two aspiring doctoral students that wrote a fantastic paper with my hero, Jason Hickel. And this paper was basically an expose for environmental and ecological, activists and academics in particular, to tell them, hey, you guys understand the ecology and the environment, but you don't understand the economy. You need to marry. And I jokingly said it was like, those old peanut butter commercials where the ecological folks are coming this way and the economists or the MMTers are coming this way. One has chocolate, one has peanut butter. They come together and you got a Reese's peanut butter cup, right? And this, they're made for each other. And Jason Hickel is a full-blown MMTer now. But when I asked them, I was like, so what do you think is the value in teaching MMT? Because to be fair, you need access to power. You need to be able to actually have a literal ability to have agency in the system, to be able to vote and have it make a difference. And they said, we're hoping that it will radicalize people. And I about lost myself. I was like, oh my God, have you guys been listening to my podcast for the last 5 years? This is exactly the point. People blow me off like I'm just like I'm the one that doesn't get it.
All right. So you want to have a little fun? You want to have a little fun?
I don't know. I don't like fun.
Let's
hold on.
Steve wants to have a little fun. Steve was going to see it eventually. So
I saw it.
Fun, Steve.
I always
doesn't make any sense. We can still print all the money in the world.
That's like. It's funny, but it's like, to me, it's like someone saying gravity doesn't make sense. I understand it's complicated to understand because I don't really completely understand that either, but it just is.
How about we start?
But go ahead, Steve.
Let's just be simple. Let's keep it simple, smiley. Let's not get in the weeds. The bottom line is that the nation has the ability to write laws. The dollar is a law. It's a patent of the United States government, the US dollar. It's a unit of account, meaning that it's a measurement. It's an inch, it's pound. It's freely created by the government. They put laws around how it can be created too. They said only Congress can write laws and has the power of the purse. So this is rules. This is an overlay over what can be. So Congress alone can do that. Well, guess what? Congress wrote a bill back in 1913 called the Federal Reserve Act that gave banks the right to give IOUs, in other words, debts, denominated in the government's unit of account. So the government controls all the rules and laws that govern banks, period. Okay, period. However, there's something going on there, right? Because obviously, if I'm sitting there telling you we can't vote our way to a Green New Deal, we can't do this to a Green New Deal, we can't, get what we want, we can't get health care, we can't get price control, we can't do anything, right? Everything that makes sense isn't done. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? The fact is the government itself, and not just the United States government, the UK, the British pound, they created their own unit account. Japan, the yen, they created their own unit of account. This is not hard. This is not hard at all. They said, hey, what do we want? Let's call it the yen. And we'll go ahead and we'll issue a tax. So people have to have that yen. Doesn't matter if they have faith in it. Find faith when you're trying to go to jail as they're taking you away for not paying your tax. Okay, there's your faith. There's your faith. They use tax as look, you have to pay your tax in the unit of account. Why? Does the government need your money to be able to spend? No, it just created a thin air, you bozo. This is the rule. This is the law. This is the trigger. The government spends, and you're like, I don't need this piece of shit money. What do I need with your money for? You're like, damn right, you don't need it. So let's make sure you do need it. We're going to put a tax on your house, brother. Oh, how do I pay that tax? Well, you need this money over here. Well, shit, how do I get it? Thank you for asking. Let me show you what I need you to do. This is so simple that you don't have to get any more complicated than that. What I just said right there, government spends it. You say, I don't need it. They say, you're right. We issue a tax. Now you need it to pay your tax. If you don't pay your tax, bad things happen. End of story. That's the beginning and the ending. Why did the Confederacy end up having hyperinflation and really, in effect, lose the war? Because they could not enforce a tax payable in the Confederate dollar. Because they couldn't enforce that tax, it had no staying power. The United States, the feds, the Northerners, they were able to maintain a tax. And it was the ability to maintain that tax that allowed them to marshal the resources to beat the South. That was it. And that's what you saw in World War II also. Exact same thing. Over and over again. And you're going to see it now. The power of the US dollar. And it's like, and it doesn't make a bit of difference. I mean, I talked to Michael Hudson, and Michael Hudson's the fair-haired boy of the left. All the folks that are lefties that fancy themselves knowledgeable about economics always harken back to Michael Hudson. Love Michael Hudson. Michael Hudson will sit there and tell them point blank, the BRICS aren't going to bring the dollar down, you fool. The BRICS aren't going to knock the dollar down. Oh, but the next minute they're alone without Michael Hudson with them. They're like, the dollar is ending. The dollar is over. It's like, guys, as long as the federal government has an army, has police, is able to enforce a tax, that dollar is going precisely nowhere. I don't care if the BRICS are there or not. And it's unfortunate that people don't realize that in the end, you may lose all the faith in the world, but the United States says, guess what? We have a military and we are willing to make you see it our way. Okay. And you're going to see it our way with a bullet or a bomb on the global scene as well. And we've been doing this for a long time. Thank God, in so many ways, if you're paying attention, thank God for China and Russia for pushing back. The BRICS themselves are not necessarily ending the dollar, but they're providing a way out. You know, I just learned about these things called swap lines, and it's something that I had never really understood. But China has offered swap lines to South America. And what swap lines are is they allow the people in South America, in Argentina or Venezuela or whatever, to use their own currency to pay their debts. And that China will take their currency and say, no problem, where the U.S. uses the IMF and they put the debt payable in another currency that these people don't make on their own. So it traps them in a debt bubble. It's slavery. So this is a great, it's a moment. It's a moment here of people breaking free of that control. But that control is very real. And unless you can find a way to pay your taxes without the US dollar, which you can't, by the way, because they only accept the US dollar, the dollar will continue to do its damage on we the people. So that's why they're able to afford these bombs. That's why they're able to afford 5 wars if they want to. The question is, do we have enough planes? Do we have enough bombs? Do we have enough tanks? It has nothing to do with do we have enough money at all, period, zero.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.